Throne and Liberty has had great success with the initial global launch, peaking well over 300,000 concurrent players and breaking into top 10 most played games on Steam charts at that time. But was this initial success masked behind the hype of having a shiny new thing? The new game in an unpopular and dying genre? An MMORPG that promised to be the lineage successor, offering seamless open world, jaw-dropping visuals, revolutionary action combat, and breaking technical limitations of a game engine, allowing for a seamless and uninterrupted open world large-scale PvP battles, with thousands of players fighting for the throne. Was all of this just a marketing trick, or was the game actually that good? Because it worked, for a little bit at least. In this video I will talk about Throne and Liberty, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Where it all went wrong, what could have been done better, and can it still be saved? Please have an open mind, sit back and enjoy the video. Also, feel free to engage with the video at any point by leaving a comment sharing your experience and thoughts about Throne and Liberty. I have started playing Throne and Liberty day one of the Korean release, experiencing all the initial bad and ugly things. Bad and ugly, but fun and engaging because it was new and different. With the global version I have racked up close to 2000 hours of actual playtime with around 500 hours on Korean servers. I managed to max out my character as much as possible. I got an affordable best in slot gear. I'm saying affordable because I didn't have to sell my kidney for some lucent. And with that I have experienced literally everything Throne and Liberty has to offer. But so did you, so did everyone else. You all experienced the easy but boring and repetitive PvE content. The endless grind for progression. You all got zerged by an alliance during arc bosses. You all got rolled over during castle sieges. You all crashed, lagged out, played with negative FPS while your PC was smoking from all the heat trying to produce the next frame in a PvP slideshow. You all got cheated on, exploited on, and scripted on. And that's okay. We have all been there at least once. But in grinding and playing a lot lies the big problem. And that problem is that the more you play, the more you start noticing all the issues, whether they are small and simple or major and game breaking. When you start playing a new game for the first time, it's all smoke and mirrors. You are clueless and you're having fun. But after a few hundred hours, you actually start reading some of the skill descriptions and tooltips, because you want to get better, of course. And then you realize that what is written doesn't make any sense. Either the description is completely wrong, the numbers are wrong, or the skill behaves completely different than what is written. And this starts frustrating you. But now imagine you actually find something major and game breaking, something that is exploitable. Do you keep it for yourself and abuse it? Do you privately report the exploit to Amazon, or do you share it with your friends and guildmates? Tough choices, right? But what if I tell you that there were game-breaking bugs and exploits that individuals and guilds abused for months? The bugs and exploits that were also reported to Amazon developers and they never got fixed. Not until more and more players started using it and videos started popping up exposing the exploits and explaining how to replicate it. I used to make these videos, but I stopped because what's the point? There's still so many things broken and bugged that you simply can't keep track of it. That's why my current favorite Throne and Liberty content creator is Paulie, who makes these exploits and bug exposing videos while also clowning AGS and their sheer incompetence in a very funny way. It's just mind-boggling how many things are still broken and how many things break after each patch. It makes you wonder how this spaghetti code is even keeping the game functional. I'm still convinced that AGS has no actual developers and it's ChatGPT coding and fixing bugs. So please check out Paulie's videos for a new batch of freshly baked bugs and exploits that you should, at your own risk, definitely abuse. The worst thing that can happen is you get banned, which will free you from this bug-infested MMORPG. But it won't happen, because remember, if Amazon doesn't care, why should you? PvE content is very easy and with time becomes very boring. The whole PvE gameplay loop is very repetitive. You log in, do your 10 daily contracts, then run 2 3-star dungeons and 1 2-star dungeon, burn tokens while waiting for the boss or dynamic event, which again the boss dies in less than 3 minutes in peace modes. Guilds actually don't do GVG because it's a waste of time, and Dominion is very unbalanced, where most of the time you'll be on the side that gets stomped. And with the current bug you can actually enter the Dominion boss, all being on the same team without any enemies. Dynamic events are pretty much the same. When you think about it, the rewards you get at the end of a 3-star dungeon do make sense. Because why would you have a 100% guaranteed chance to drop a tier 2 gear item when the dungeon can be cleared in less than 5 minutes? And this is where the big problem lies. There are no difficult dungeons where after clearing it you would have increased chances at better loot. When we got Dimensional Trials, the only purpose was farming rooms. Sure, you can still open the chest at the end, but imagine if you completed tier 15. Wasted hours trying just so you can get some points for leaderboard, few rooms, and then you open the chest and get a tier 1 gear drop. And tier 15 is very difficult. I don't think I have seen a non-exploited tier 15 3-star dungeon clear, and we won't see it because it's a waste of time. You can get the rooms from so many other activities that you do not need to do Dimensional Trials. Most of my important rooms are all level 75 plus, and I have done 0 Dimensional Trial runs. So why is this content not being reworked? Why is it just sitting there, dead? The easy fix would be removing the normal dungeons and only having Dimensional Trials. Add matchmaking to it, keep tier 1 the same difficulty as normal dungeons are now, keep the rewards percentage the same but also allow higher tiers to be more difficult with better chances at better rewards. For example, clearing tier 5 should remove tier 1 gear from the loot table, and clearing even higher tiers should increase not only the chance for tier 2 gear drops, but also include a percentage chance to get a world boss loot or a nebula loot. But it's too late now for this anyways. Players who are still playing the game have all their gear. And with all this new supply of better gear, the prices on the market would collapse. But smart AGS already destroyed the market and reduced the prices of everything after the Loot Goblin event. So how much worse could it actually get? AGS doesn't want you to get gear. They don't want you to improve your character, they want your money. That's why the tier 2 loot table and drop chances are the way they are, because AGS wants you to keep coming back every single day. You keep doing the same dungeons, killing the same mobs or burning tokens, just to get that one final gear drop that you need. But it never drops. That's how they keep you hooked, and that's how they keep the player retention, in a hope that after some time of getting tier 1 drops from a dungeon, you get frustrated enough to grab your credit card, charge up on Lucent, and straight up buy the gear you need from the auction house. And when you do that, they win and you lose. But luckily this predatory system has backfired on AGS many times already because the players aren't stupid. At the end of the day we have come back full circle, where the only thing developers and publishers of these AAA games care is making as much money as possible, while trying to keep the game alive for as long as possible to milk every last penny they can, all at the cost of players. PvP in any MMORPG is always a hit or miss. Throne Liberty has been marketed as this open world massively large scale PvP game with thousands of players participating, but in reality it was a complete flop. Good balance of fun, engaging PvE, balanced PvP and a non-static combat is a recipe for success. Throne Liberty completely missed the mark on all three of these. Started as a PvP focused game only to shortly pivot into PvE, which neglected PvP content and balance, while the PvE remained boring and repetitive. Combat did receive some quality upgrades, but it's still very stale. It speaks a lot of volume once you realize that core PvP hasn't really changed since 2023. Balancing PvP requires a lot of time and resources to do right. But in turn, it isn't going to matter because there's no point focusing on the content that maybe 5% of the player base would enjoy. The majority of the players that keep MMORPGs alive are casual players who enjoy PvE with occasional optional PvP. They are not competitive hardcore PvP players and they will do everything to avoid it. Maybe if there were actual incentive to PvP, then maybe casual PvE players would be enticed to try it. Right now PvP is completely neglected. Hell, what am I saying, the whole game is neglected. When was the last time we got a proper class balance patch? I think when they nerfed the spear still back in tier 1. The current 2-2-2 meta is boring, one-dimensional and requires no skill. Arena is heavily stacked and dominated by melee players with melee evasion, castle sieges and tag delivery event is still the same unbalanced PvP content that nobody cares about, and the Riftstone/Boonstone fights are non-existent because majority of the PvP guilds disbanded, so there's nobody to fight against. War games are the only real PvP content that players and guilds can enjoy nowadays, but this is only due to the tournament, after which it will put a final nail into the coffin. I do believe that the majority of PvP players will stop playing after the tournament, unless something gets announced. They even ruined the standard world bosses with the introduction of 3 portals, which again was heavily influenced by casual PvP players. But AGS still isn't reverting these changes, and the reason is simple: they do not care, nor did they ever care about PvP content and PvP players. There are so many things that they can do to make PvP balanced and fun for both PvE and PvP players. Wargames, for example, could have matchmaking, and after finishing you get a PvP token that you can exchange at merchants for materials and gear. 6v6 and 12v12 battlegrounds have been announced in Korea in June 2024, but that's nowhere near being released. Alliance zerging is still a huge problem in all types of open world PvP content, sieges, tax delivery, nebula, arc bosses, you name it. Speaking of nebula, while PvP is open there, nobody really even tries to fight another group of 6 players. Because even if they do, it ends up being a 10-minute back and forth where nobody is dying. So both groups agree to PvE farm in peace. And all of this bullshit stems from tanks and healers being too tanky and unkillable. But you can't really fix it either, not without breaking the game completely and making other classes weaker. All in all, the PvP will remain as it is, mainly as AGS can see the number of PvP players compared to the PvE players. So there really is no reason to try and waste time balancing classes for PvP, adding new forms of PvP content and improving the current ones. But since they do care about making money, and most money comes from hardcore PvP players, it doesn't make sense to completely neglect your biggest money makers. Another big problem is a complete and utter lack of communication, transparency and accountability from AGS. How long did it take for them to address the dimensional trial exploits? How long did it take to address the cheating? How long did it take to fix bugs? There are many ways they could have dealt with the game-breaking issues, like disabling the buggy weapon, exploitable mastery or dungeon until it's patched. Remember when there were issues with an auction house and a cash shop? It was immediately disabled and hotfixed within a few hours through emergency maintenance. This tells you everything where their priorities lie. Thousands of players exploit trials for runes, that's okay, we just give them a 3-day ban and delete them from leaderboards. Cash shop not working, emergency 12-hour maintenance, all hands on deck. Massive drop in FPS performance and optimization across all specs, as well as constant server performance issues plagued with random disconnects, crashes, and most recently complete server crashes. The last siege, at least on my server in EU, has had a server just randomly go into maintenance mode, completely booting everyone out. After 5 minutes there was a login queue. Like what? Login queue for 500 people who still play the game on my server? On top of that, the siege was cancelled after the servers went up, nobody was declared the winner, nobody got loosened payout, and 45 minutes of our lives were completely wasted. This isn't the first time it happened in recent times, but it just goes to show how bad Amazon servers actually are. Arc bosses, both Cordy and the Lulu, are just unplayable, where the main issue is that the players just don't render on your screen. Even with the highest character count option, you end up running into a blob of red enemies without even realizing anyone is there, because on your screen nobody is there. Understanding Amazon MO, with their sheer lack of transparency and accountability, they never even apologize, and compensation will always be Ornate coins that everyone can shove up their ass. In this part, I was going to talk about what can be done for Throne of Liberty to regain its popularity, bring back returning players and attract new players. But after finishing writing this script, I came to the conclusion that AGS as a game studio doesn't deserve any more success from Throne of Liberty. They don't deserve our money, even though they are trying their absolute best to milk as much money as they can. Just look at the transmog system. Why couldn't have that been a free system where everyone can create their unique looking cosmetics? No, it had to cost Lucent. I can also see them finally going completely rogue and releasing the Blessing of Solysium, the monthly subscription-based premium that can only be purchased with real money, not Lucent. With their incompetence, they have managed to completely destroy 3 very promising MMORPGs, on top of their own flops that they have developed and had to shut down due to how bad it actually was. New World suffered and is still suffering the exact same fate. Lost Ark was a game that I have waited to play in global version for years, but it also suffered the same incompetent fate. And now we are all here gathered to press F and pay our final respects to Throne of Liberty, which didn't even last a year on a global market. There's no point trying to give feedback on how to improve the game and change, because a lot of major systems need complete overhaul, and I'm pretty sure NCSoft has given up on any major content development and are only focusing on their future money-making games. At best, they will release the 12-man raids, which is going to be super easy, filled with bugs, exploits and unbalanced rewards. This will add a new gear progression tier and everyone is back to square one with grinding, spending real money in an infinite boring gameplay loop until they finally come to realize that it is not worth it. There will likely be release of 2 new weapons, Orb and Gauntlet, which were leaked already, but chances are both of them will be very broken, buggy, exploitable, and it will give birth to even more oppressive and broken builds, while the current ones will fall into obscurity. There are still bugs and issues present with the current weapons, so I can't even imagine the shitshow new weapons will bring. The upcoming emergency Korean developer livestream Q&A session is what's going to decide the fate of Throne of Liberty. Even the livestream is called Cheer Up Throne of Liberty. Like, are they seriously taking the piss right now? If they don't address all the issues with solutions that will come very soon, and if they don't announce new content, it's pretty much GG. I can already see their common response being, we are aware and we are working on improving it. All in all, seeing doom and gloom on Reddit, major guilds and alliances disbanding and quitting in every region, and the only thing that is still keeping some of the hardcore PvP players playing and logging in every day is the Blue Squadron tournament. After the tournament, a lot of the guilds and players have already announced they will be quitting. I can already see the tournament will be filled with drama, cheating accusations that will turn into a major shitshow. But all the drama is where the good content is, so bring it on. So what should you do if you're still playing? I'm not here to tell you to quit. If you're genuinely still enjoying your time and the game, more power to you. Games are meant to be fun and your entertainment is valid. But if you're playing out of habit or hopes that things will improve, it might be time for an honest assessment. Just ask yourself, am I having fun or am I just going through the motions? If you're sticking around for your guild or friends, consider bringing that community to a different game. The relationships you've built are valuable and can thrive elsewhere. And if you're passionate about seeing change, be loud about it but in a constructive way. Leave feedback and hold AGS accountable by voting with your wallet. Because that's the only way they're gonna listen. The MMORPG genre desperately needs innovation and quality. By demanding better, we collectively raise the standards for future games. But let me be transparent with you, making this video wasn't easy. I've invested thousands of hours into Throne of Liberty, I've made friends, created memories, and had genuine moments of joy. Criticizing something you care about is always difficult, but that's precisely why this conversation matters. We deserve better, the MMORPG community deserves better, and until we collectively raise our standards, publishers will continue to serve us bad products. If you've made it to the end of this video, you're clearly passionate about the future of MMORPGs and Throne of Liberty. So please share your thoughts in the comments, not just about what's wrong, but about what you want to see in the future games and the future updates for Throne of Liberty. I apologize for the amount of doom and gloom in this video, but all of this, I think it had to be said. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.